1278. That's the number. That's the number to become the PS1 completionist. Join us as we conquer and defeat every English PS1 game known to man. Buckle up, lock in, and enjoy the ride as we make history together. Game number 9 will be Spyro. Spyro was released on September 9th, 1998 on the PlayStation 1, with that console being the sole release at the time. Spyro was developed by well-known Insomniac Games located in Burbank, California, and was published by the notorious Sony Computer Entertainment located in San Mateo, California. Wait. Before we start, can we just... it gets me every time. Spyro the Dragon is a game that for some reason never made it to my playlist when it came to PS1 games, so all of this was basically new to me besides some videos I've watched in the past. This definitely will be a good one. When the game loads up, Spyro is seen flying through the mountains and skies of the Dragon Realms and lands on a nice purple and gold platform where the start screen appears reading Spyro the Dragon. When we press start, a cutscene appears showing all the dragons within the realm, including Spyro having a good time discussing how things have recently been peaceful despite the Gnorcs, and most importantly Gnasty Gnorc, prowling around. Gnasty Gnorc overhears the dragons call him dumb and ugly, and he says he has had enough. Gnasty waves his staff in the air and turns all the dragons beside Spyro into this green-like crystal encasing their bodies with no hope to escape. Spyro says it seems like he has some things to do. Once the cutscene ends, we come face to face with our first dragon to rescue, being Nestor. He is one of many dragons that have to be rescued. I mean, seriously, we got Devlin, and Thor, and Todar, and Xantor, and Boldar, and Eldred, and Cedric.
Zeke, Rufus, Jeep, Billy Bob, Billy Jim, Billy, Billy, Banana Fan, Billy, Tug, Enos, Gabriel, Fletcher McGee, Rainchild, Zeke Jr.
I get it!
The first world we rescue the first sets of dragons from is labeled as Home, and the home level has 5 levels within the world, in which we also have to enter to save more and more dragons from the evil dragon capturing creatures. To enter a level, you have to find these portals throughout the world in which you enter, and it takes you to a totally different realm, and the first one we would be entering would be Dark Hollow. Each level within the world has anywhere from 3 to 5 dragons in which you have to save. I love the creativeness that the devs put into this level design, because each level had a different mob/enemy that had to be defeated, and it usually went with the theme of the level. For example, we come across a level called Tree Toppers later on, which has monkeys that throw bananas that you have to defeat, and another level called Cliff Town, where you have to defeat these guys wearing sombreros and also holding shields. Anyways, it was pretty obvious from the start what needed to be accomplished. A lot of dragons needed to be freed, and we must trance through loads of levels for that to be accomplished. Along the way of freeing the dragons, we could also collect these gems that were inside the boxes that Spyro could break. They varied from 1 gem being red and 25 gems being yellow. We could also slay this one mob that was hiding in a bag scattered throughout the worlds that gave you an extra life. If you died in one level and restarted from the start, then instead of the mobs dropping gems, they dropped these colorful orbs, and collecting 15 of these would also grant you an extra life. The first set of levels was basically a piece of cake, and was kinda an intro for what would come later on. Dark Hollow, Stone Hill, Town Square, and the level Toasty got completed with ease. Each world also had a kind of time trials level where Spyro would fly around and you had to collect chests and shoot down planes while a timer counted down. We couldn't run out of time though, because we would have to start all over again. After we saved all the dragons from the home realm, we found a hot air balloon guy who congratulated us on our success so far and said that he would give us a ride to the next realm, being the Peacekeeper's realm. Now this one was one of my favorites. It was a realm that was basically located in a desert because there was sand everywhere. The main enemies we had to fight were these infantrymen who wore funny hats and shot cannons at you. Heck, they even shot cannons at each other. Some of the infantrymen even fled from you after you spooked them. They would run and hide in these tents, and when you used your fire blast, it would burn the tent down, exposing them. They even provoked you by showing you their rear end. The Peacekeeper's realm had 5 levels as well, with the last one called Dr. Shemp being my favorite. After rescuing Trondo, we had to fight this big scary dude that was wearing a type of tiki headpiece, and he wielded this big skull-headed staff that he would try to whack you with. Ouch, that hurts. Every time you struck him, he would run to another platform until ultimately he would be defeated. The Peacekeeper's realm had a total of 16 dragons, and our next realm, the Magic Crafter's realm, had 14. So we hopped in the hot air balloon and headed that way. This realm had this weird mob that was super duper fast. He was a human slug type of enemy that would steal dragon eggs and run away from you. We had to be quick and accurate on chasing him, because if not, then he would leave us in the dust. Once we got the egg from him, it would reward us a little bit of extra health, and we could take a little bit more of a beating before we perished. The Alpine Ridge level was super easy, but the Wizard Peak level was a bit of a pain, because these wizards use some type of magical powers to raise and lower the ground, turning some parts into platforms. Geez, these wizards are annoying. Ultimately though, we sent those wizards back to Waverly Place and saved 3 more dragons. The boss we had to fight on the Magic Crafter's realm was called Blowhard. Blowhard was this weird looking tornado cowboy that was also super fast like the egg stealing slugs. It was fairly easier to conquer him though, because the fire attack that Spyro had was super effective. Blowhard fell to the wrath of Spyro's flame, and after saving the last dragon Altair, we talked to the hot air balloon guy and now headed to the Beastmaker's realm. The mobs here were super evil. These weird guys that had like a taser backpack or something would electrocute the ground, causing shockwaves to travel, hurting poor Spyro. You had to time it just right so you could miss the electricity. Beastmakers had a total of 12 dragons and 5 more levels, and these levels actually started to get a little bit tougher, with tree toppers being the limelight to my kryptonite. These small monkeys would throw hands of bananas at you, and these big monkeys would hit you with a dropkick, doing some serious damage. So I met my demise plenty of times. Now the dragon named Jed was a dragon that was in a very, very difficult place to access. He was on this lone platform that was far away from everything else in the world. To access Jed and save him, we had to do this really wicked double jump off one of the ramps that makes Spyro go faster. If we hit it at just the right angle and glide with Spyro's wings at just the right time, Jed could be free, and that's exactly what we did. After Tree Toppers, we had to try and confront that big robotic body of Metalhead. He was this giant robot that threw electrical charges and monkeys at you, and being hit by one of these would have Spyro fried. These metal electric poles were scattered in the middle of the arena, and they flashed from green to red. We had to be sure to destroy the poles when they were flashing green instead of red, or we would have some burnt Spyro. We did this 2 separate times until Metalhead became nothing more than a pile of shiny gems. The Dream Weaver's realm was honestly a breeze, and ended up being one of the easiest realms of the story. We saved the 16 dragons here with ease, and focused our eyes on the last realm being Gnasty Gnorc's world. Entering the world of Gnasty Gnorc, we right away see our first dragon to rescue being Delbin, and he lets us know that Gnasty Gnorc will be a tough fight, but first there are other dragons we would have to save before we can get our wings on him. So we're going to have to take a visit to Gnorc Cove. Here we had to fight oversized beavers, and sometimes they wore armor which had to be knocked off with Spyro's charge move. Whoa, those were some wicked underpants. We threw these large metal barrels at times as well, which really helped a lot. We defeated all of the large beavers and saved the rest of the dragons, and it was time to give Gnasty Gnorc a piece of our minds. Gnasty Gnorc was this huge green Gnorc that wore a set of ultra bright gold armor, and he of course had his staff. Before we could get to him though, we had a couple other things we had to accomplish. The green slugs were back, and instead of eggs, this time they had keys we had to get so we can finally face the Gnorc. These guys were super fast, even faster than before, but I chased the green slugman as hard as I could and cut my corners perfectly to retrieve both keys. Now it was time to chase Gnasty. He was also super fast, but eventually he would have to come to a stop on the circular platform. We hit him with a fire blast and he fled to this room. We could continue pursuing him while also doing some sick gliding parkour. We'd finally catch up to him and fire one more blast, finally ending his terrible reign over the dragons. The dragons couldn't be happier or more proud of little old Spyro, and the credits began to roll. Now let's get to the ratings. Enjoyment. I really enjoyed this game, especially since I never played this as a kid back in the day. The story, I will say, was pretty bare minimum, but it is kinda Greek god-esque or Medusa-esque to make the dragons captive by encasing them in a stone-like substance. I wish there was a little bit more backstory for Gnasty Gnorc, but for enjoyment, I'll give it a B-flat. Map design. Now they left no stones unturned when it came to the maps. We had a little bit of everything. We had spooky, we had desert, we had jungle, we had medieval times, we had icy, and another thing that was dope was every dragon had a different name, so kudos to the devs for that. Maps weren't too difficult, and later in the game they got progressively harder, so maps get a A-. Game mechanics. If I were a Debbie Downer, I'd say that the game mechanics were a little whack at times. The camera angles were terrible at times and was just in the worst spot when it came to making some jumps. The game did allow you to hit triangle though to put the camera at 180 degrees, which was nice. Also, gliding was glitchy at some parts and delayed sometimes while attempting to glide, so game mechanics get a C-flat. Overall, this game gets a B-flat and an 85 out of 100 grade on the game meter. The lows were definitely the mechanics, but the maps and the overall enjoyment definitely met my needs. Well, that's all for this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, stay classy with the classics. By the way guys, I'm back now. Sorry for the long leave of absence, but I had to transition to a new job and a bunch of other things in life. I appreciate all of you guys who stayed. We might only get like 1 to 2 videos a week, but this journey will continue to thrive. See you guys in the next one.